Thank you, Chair, and thank you so much to everybody for appearing before us today and sharing your experiences with us. I suppose again this week we're hearing about another element of living with a disability that's overlooked. Chronic illnesses have major and ongoing impacts on people's lives, and you've clearly shown us that due to the limited time that I have, I'll just only be able to ask a few questions. But Chair, if there's time after these two, I'll come back in with the third one if that's okay. Yeah. So first to Mary, you highlighted that Parkinson's is one of the fastest growing neurological diseases and is expected to double by 2030. You rightly encouraged the government to be proactive and invest in early intervention and community-based programmes now, which would be better for individuals and health services, obviously. I'm just wondering if you could describe what kind of programmes you would have in mind or what would be useful. And then to Lorna, you highlighted that the mobility grant was stopped to new applicants in 2013. A new scheme was due to replace it, but nothing has materialised yet. And I think this is an issue that many of us will be aware of from our constituency work. I'd just like if you could elaborate on the significance of this grant and why it needs to be reinstated immediately. And you point out that in some cases individuals have to use their annual leave for medical appointments. And given that some conditions require multiple appointments with different healthcare professionals, this is an indication of not only, I think, the regard for the reality of living with a chronic illness, but also Ireland's poor worker rights. So I wonder if you think there should be a statutory right to take necessary medical appointments without affecting annual leave. And if this time I just have a question for Olga as well at the end. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Deputy. Mary?
Yes, just on the multidisciplinary approach, what's needed is assessment, first of all, for physiotherapy to see what you need to do to manage this condition. Like, I didn't realise how important exercise was, and I suppose now with research and education, like years ago, people were probably told to go home and sit down, and that's the worst thing you could do for Parkinson's. And some people think that walking alone is enough, but it's not. We need to have a more wide range of movements in our everyday exercise programs for function, like getting out of the chair, twisting, turning. So education is needed around that, physiotherapy. So community-based exercise programs specifically for Parkinson's, which would help prevent falls and would also have a social element that would connect people as well. Plus, speech therapy is so important. Once you've started to lose your speech, it's very hard to get it back, so that you need specific speech therapy, and there is a program called LSVT Loud, which is specifically for Parkinson's. So everybody should be just put onto that program straight away and learn the skills to maintain their voice as we go on this journey through this condition. Counselling, I think, is very important as well. Like, people are shocked with the diagnosis. You know, if you're in your workplace, you're probably at the height of your career. You could be the main earner in the house, and suddenly, you might have to give up work. You have children to put through college, expense, mortgage, all that sort of thing. It's very hard to cope with that, and how you're going to manage. Plus, there is kind of problems with Parkinson's in that anxiety and stress and depression can be symptoms of Parkinson's as well. So counselling is overlooked, I think, coping with this disease as well. And then, stages then, there's occupational therapy, and then assistive technology, like knowledge around that. And I suppose as well, I'm just kind of touching on this briefly, just information for employers. So if you go to your employer and you say, I have this condition, give them the skills as well to know what to do, what to say, how to help you. I know that's getting away from community thing, but it's just something I wanted to put in there today as well. Some more community involved, and I think the Slanter program has it seems to be the right approach to have it in the community. Keep us well as long as possible. Keep us away from the hospital system, and give us the skills to cope with this condition. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Lorna.
Hi, how are you doing? Now, it wasn't myself that discussed mobility grants in the 2013. I've had no access to, or I've done nothing with the grants that I was talking about. Was to assistive technology grants, which are not available to people in the public sector. Just to people in the public sector. It's at the discretion of your employer. If you're in the private sector, your employer can access grants on your behalf. And in relation to annual leave, it would be great if there was a register of people who had chronic illnesses, a national register. So, and like you said, what do you call it, a statutory entitlement to a day off to go to the doctor, like taking 10 days. I would probably have 10 days hospital appointments in Dublin. So taking 10 days out of your annual entitlement is a lot when you're exhausted. And then it's not fair on your partner, because they obviously want to go away for a couple of days and they're constantly in the car driving to Dublin. And then you go to Dublin, you go home and you're not fit even to go for a walk around Stephen's Green and smell the coffee. But those type of things are very important. So if there was a national register of people with chronic disease, I think what employers are afraid of is that people will take advantage of the statutory days, and the fear in some organisations is that you get one up on the employer, and we're not trying to get one up on anybody. We just want to live, we just want to work, we just want to breathe and be able to like I said, a level playing field in all aspects of our lives, which would be great. Thanks, Ali.
Thanks, Lorna. Deputy, did you want to ask another question?
Yeah, just for Olga briefly, if that's okay.
Yeah.
You were speaking about basically what seems like not enough recognition of EDS in Ireland, and you referenced the UK, obviously acknowledging it, and there being kind of pathways for diagnosis and all of that stuff. I just wondered, and I don't know if you'd have the information there, written response or anything would be great, but what is it like on a sort of European scale or global one? Like, is Ireland a total outlier in terms of just not really acknowledging it? Or I just wondered if you had that.
Yeah, anecdotally, I can give you an example off the top of my head. Only last week, I came across somebody in a parenting group who was suspicious that they had EDS and were presenting with a lot of the same symptomatology, and she was added into one of our EDS Facebook groups and was basically asking how does she go about getting a diagnosis, and we were saying, well, there's not really anybody you can go to. You can try this, you can try that. She originally doesn't come from Ireland, she's French, and within 24 hours she had contacted a doctor back home and had been referred for an EDS assessment in her home country. She had a plethora of appointments all lined up, and she asked us, oh, should I go ahead with this? And everyone in our community was like, yes, this is like the winning the golden ticket in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. We just don't have that kind of thing here. And just in terms of the mobility grant, it's things like personal care, it's things like assistance with like bedding, stairs, things like that. But again, a lot of these things, and it's not open anymore, are very much geared towards people who own their own homes. And the problem with a lot of us is we're kept in this weird, oh, I'm a single parent, so I don't have a partner to help financially or anything. But for those of us in private rental accommodation, what's the end point here? We're kind of stuck. We're in the private sector. We're never going to really earn a huge amount because we're a little bit restricted. But I don't know, the retirement years look a little bleak at this point because there's no security. And I think it's not about having a handout looking for money. It's about empowering us to be able to go out and build careers and lives for ourselves so that we can provide for our families and have security. So
Thanks, Olga.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy.